Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod with Paul Sterrett. He's founder at Privacy Labs and Sterrett Law. Paul, welcome to the pod. Glad to have you on. Can you tell us a bit more about these two businesses of yours?
Yes, well, PrivacyLabs.ai is a startup that is built around providing technology solutions tailored to governance, risk, and compliance. We have a platform that will eventually be a web portal that is now something we are working on. As far as the back end is concerned, we cover cybersecurity, privacy, and artificial intelligence. So a client in typically a highly regulated area will come to us and say, here's what we have, here's kind of where we think we need to go, and we help them complete that process. Sterrett Law is a law firm that is focused on AI governance. We give legal advice and consulting on those topics around artificial intelligence governance.
And how do you get your clients? Because AI governance seems to be like a very trendy field nowadays. So do they just come to you, they Google you, or do you outreach to them to get to them?
Well, right now I'm focusing on reaching out to specific verticals. That's primarily what I'm doing, typically into the area of like PCI DSS, which is, if you're familiar with that, that's payment card industry's digital security standard, so that we can focus on an area, because it's always it's usually the devil's in the details. So we want to know the area very specifically. So that's kind of how it comes in, is through the vertical.
I was just listening to a podcast about Q-Star and OpenAI, which a bunch of people say is at the center of, well, not at the center, but at this something that contributed to the decision of firing Sam Altman. So how should AI be governed and benefit all without restraining the startup and the company to create an AI that could potentially help the world?
Yes, I think that's a great question. People seem to separate the governance, if you will. That's not really the right word. It's making sure you know what it's doing. And it can't help people. You can't use machine learning or AI or generative AI if you don't know what it's doing. It's it's part of the process of making it valuable in the first place. So I would say it's kind of like giving a Ferrari to a 6-year-old to drive around. It's not very good. So you want to make sure that the driver can get you around the track, you know what I mean, in the best, fastest way possible. So governance and commercial purpose go hand in hand.
So how does one do that in practice in society? Because there was a bunch of people that signed this letter to stop the progress, stop AI for a while, which is completely ridiculous, but illustrates a point that people are scared and they want more governments, they want more oversight, and they want to de-risk the whole thing. So how should top companies like OpenAI go with that? Should we just trust them to have their own internal committees to govern AI responsibly, or should government impose one on them?
I think it's going to be both. I think explainability, by the way, from a technical standpoint, is really the best way to do this. Do you know what it's doing? Because a lot of people just jump in, black box, they don't have any idea what's going on under the hood, right? If you do know what's going on, you know what it's doing, and you know if it's going off the rails. Is it releasing private data? Is it exposing trade secret information? That's one piece. Then there's a more of a political aspect of, is this going to take people's jobs? And I don't mean wholesale, putting doctors and lawyers out of business. I mean, people who are more on the lower level, people who provide support services will be replaced in mass. And is that really the right thing to do? Personally, I don't think it is. I think there should be a growth process to the entire area, and that government is probably going to wind up playing a role in that.
Right. And Q-Star, apparently, we still don't know if it's true or not, but apparently it cracked cryptography very rapidly. And I see that you're into AI security. What kind of problems would it cause to the world if an AI would start cracking cryptography? and given the goals to just not stop and reproduce, like would the world stop for a moment?
Probably. Um, I'm not so sure when that's going to happen. It's an area I don't have close exposure to, so I can't directly answer that. But to me, one of the issues is that it's called a brute force attack. They take your encryption key, which is what is used to encrypt, and they test every single value between 0 and some very high number. And in there is the number, which is your key. It finds it and then can decrypt. If it can go fast enough, it'll rip through that just like nothing. However, with quantum computer, you can make larger keys. So it's just a matter of uh, can the technology keep up? But no, I think there's a great deal of fear, something I don't think I could directly address. That is very much the case. Will the world stop? That may be not too far off.
What about governments and the board at OpenAI that to me just had too much power and could host or who's however you spell that word, Sam Altman that quickly without much oversight?
I think that's part of the growing pains of this industry is just what you're saying. Because my understanding, to be honest, I haven't paid that much attention. It happened so quickly, was that there was this tussle between growing too quickly and creating something that you couldn't control. Maybe not as much as you would say Terminator 2, but I think it's these large companies are going through these very same uh, philosophical and public policy based tussles to say, well, we grow too fast, put all kinds of people out of business. Does it wind up going off the rail and doing something on its own? I think that's natural. I think that it's new to everybody. I mean, it's so fast and so much that everyone is they're tripping over themselves to get to where they need. And I think it's unavoidable.
Where does that bring AI startups in that landscape? Like, should they preoccupy themselves with either cybersecurity or governments, or is that only scale ups problem?
Hmm. Well, again, I think what the best thing to do is to start simple and start small as much as you can, because you want to know what's happening. You don't want to grow too quickly, because otherwise you don't know what's going to happen. The other thing that because internally we have actually seen ourselves making some adjustments to changes in the underlying because we use generative AI in our here at privacylabs.ai, and we see little shifts in the industry. Some of them are going to be putting some startups out of business because what they were going to do is now being done by OpenAI. So that's an open question. But I think the other than that, just start slow. I put out a LinkedIn post about a month ago about the 6 steps that are important for building generative AI models. And the 2 big ones were just start small, know what you're doing. Don't try to boil the ocean because you don't know what you're going to get.
Why do your law firm offer AI governments? Why most law firms just struggle to adapt to times and just offer the same services for years?
Well, that's a great question and one that, frankly, I could spend an entire podcast on. But basically, I think the issue is that most people go into law are liberal studies, sort of right brain, creative thinking, writing skills. They are often technophobes. They don't want to do math. They don't want to talk about chemicals. And so they are automatically sort of not in the technical environment. You really have to understand the technology to give advice on whether or not it's being done properly. But at the same time, they are the ones representing the big firm, the companies and stuff. So they're the ones that the company will go to first. And I think you're going to see sort of a gap there. That's changing. There's a just real quickly here. There is a new certification offered by the International Association of Privacy Professionals, IAPP, called AI Governance uh, Framework. I'm actually helping them write some of the questions with their practice exam right now. And that's going to help close the gap, but it's the technical gap that's been the problem and will continue to be. It's unfortunate.
As per 2024, what would be your goals, granted that the landscape is moving so fast?
I would say don't react to hype. There will be hype, there will be bumps. Relax. AI, as you've alluded to, is going to be here to stay. It's going to grow rapidly. It's going to be useful, and it's going to be a net gain. So just relax. Don't let the noise fool you. Maybe sit back and wait a little bit. You have to stay on top of things, but don't let that cause you to become freaked out. And I think that's what we're doing here at Privacy Labs. That's the way I look at this when it comes to governance. Um, and it's okay. Slow down. It is manageable. Whatever is going to remain after the hype is gone is those places that are manageable. So if you know what you're doing, you stay in that zone, then you'll be just fine.
Where can people find out more about you, Paul?
Yes, thank you. We're at privacylabs.ai, not .com, and it's starrettlaw.com. That's StarrettLew.com.